go. Okay, I'm gonna keep working on the astrodoodle for the moment, okay? Until we nail it down. We're getting there, folks. We're getting there. Alright, that's enough. Let's have a look, see what we got going on here. So I just wanted to do a little quick astrodoodle for anyone who's watching. I don't see anybody here at the moment, but it's okay. It'll be recorded and then it will load up on the channel when it's time. Greetings and welcome. This is Lumination. It is Thursday, 28th of July 2022. We are just crossed over from the Leo new moon over here, and of course the emphasis was going to be on Leos. And then in 2 weeks we have, when the moon is over here, there will be a, we have a, where are we? Oh God, I gotta change my calendar. Give me a second, I'm talking gibberish. Okay, that's the 28th, okay, the new moon is right here, new moon in Leo. And then, let me just double check for the full moon. Full moon on the 11th, okay. So on the 11th of August, then we're gonna have the full moon here in Aquarius, okay? So, the thing I wanted to point out, and the reason I felt compelled to do this little mini show, is because of the relevance to the United States and America and everything like that. I'm not going to get deep into anything very controversial or something, because, as you know, I can really stir the pot and get myself in a lot of trouble really quickly. So I just wanted to point it out, the beauty of the sacred geometry and sort of how it all works. One of the reasons I wanted to mention this as well is because Path Traveler and Love Driver was sending me all sorts of interesting things. And one of them was a little video from this religious fellow who's into numerology and things like that, and the Bible and the apocalypse and Revelations and the end of times and all that. And you've probably noticed that there's thousands of videos now all over YouTube, about it's the end of the world, and eventually we're all gonna, all the good people are gonna rise up and float up to heaven, and all the bad people are gonna like blow up and disappear, probably in a nuclear cloud or something like that. Okay, you can understand people's concerns. I mean, it's crazy stuff happening. So it was very interesting because this religious fellow started talking about the Pluto cycle and the Pluto return for the United States of America. And I kept thinking, wow, that is pretty cool. Trying to connect all those dots with gematria, numerology, astrology, and religion, and the Bible, and everything like that. Man, it's amazing how people's imaginations, interpret energy. From my perspective, this is just pure energy. It's more or less like magnetism, geometry, and nothing good or nothing bad about it. Like with this, for example, this is a very obvious, challenging situation that we have here, but it doesn't mean it's the end of the world. No, it just means we have an opportunity to learn and grow. It's extremely hyper challenging because it's putting intense pressure on the global financial system. And some of you might have noticed that the global financial system is creaking and groaning and going through these massive convulsions all over planet Earth. It's everywhere. Everywhere. And there's a few people you can thank, because as you know, I believe it all happens like through this big pyramid of power, and so on and so on. I'm not going to get into all of that too much. I just wanted to point out the beauty of the sacred geometry. And the other thing I wanted to mention was how I've been tracking Mars. Okay, and we still have to track Mars for a while because it's triggering a lot of, let's say, volatility. That volatility can have different manifestations like violence and war, and people rising up and revolting and protesting, and just like some of it is like the very, very worst of Mars behavior, abuse, and some of it is a wonderful surge of expression of energy of the sovereign self. So it's very beautiful for me to witness these things happening simultaneously. There's enough people around the world waking up to the idea that there is this concept of the sovereign self, most notably contained in the energy of Mars, or maybe Sun in Aries or something like that. But the idea that you have the right to be you. And in fact, it's your duty to be you. Love thyself. Number one, that's the best thing you can do for planet Earth and your loved ones is take care of yourself in the best way possible so that you are most able, ready and willing, able to serve the loved ones, your loved ones around you. You can take that to your immediate friends and family and pets, and then all the way up to your neighborhood, your city, your town, your country, everything. And so a lot of that subject matter has come to light recently across all Earth. Over here, I'm going to put this up here really close up. I predicted some time ago that when Mars is conjoined, Uranus conjoined the North Node, we're going to see extreme volatility in the financial markets, and that's what's happening. And it's making the status quo very, very uncomfortable, partly because they are the instigators and that they want this to happen because this is how their sort of grand master plan is being set in motion. It's by destroying the existing status quo while simultaneously trying to fabricate a brand new status quo that supersedes anything and everything we've ever seen before in humanity. The idea is that the folks up here on the shadow side or the negative side of Pluto and Capricorn full expression would represent the extreme global elites who basically own and manage and control everything in a very kind of corporate, very tough, brutal, extreme manner. At the very top, to the point of being utterly ruthless and totally inconsiderate of humanity, literally to the point of crime, literally to the point where they dress everything up to look like, hey, everybody, we're going to save you. We're going to save the planet for, because of pollution and, too much burning fuels and eating the wrong foods. And then we're going to create a wonderful new world order where everything's going to be perfectly organized by us at the very, very tippity top. The first example that's being used as a test model I see is CHINA, little China, because they've been working at it for a long time. And they have a well-entrenched authoritarian, totalitarian, communist dictatorship. And that's kind of like the business model that all these other non-communist countries are trying to emulate. They are just salivating and drooling at the whole idea of having absolute power. They can't help themselves. That's what it is. It's like a drug. The more power and the money and control you have, the more power, money, and control you want and that you feel that you need. So, in other words, everything's exactly as it should be. What else do you expect? Now, I just wanted to do a flashback here because I just wanted to mention that Jupiter is just turning retrograde. Okay? And sorry, I should have marked that over here. Damn, sorry, I didn't mark that. Neptune's retrograde over here. It's been that way for a while. So that's all this very hazardous it's not very hazardous retrograde energy. It's basically about anything and everything that can go wrong, will go wrong. Just like, Mercury retrograde. Everybody's heard of Mercury retrograde, okay? It's now very common conversation in digital and technology and techie offices and businesses where they start to notice all these breakdowns and dysfunctions when Mercury goes retrograde. It's very well known in the telecoms industry and so on. But that's sweet little Mercury. And it's very obvious. We can see it because Mercury is very close. It stays very close to the sun and is very close to orbit to us. But when you go out here into the the planets that are even beyond our senses. Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. You can't see those planets, but the effect is very deep and profound, and it goes these are like very, very, very deep waves. And so when they turn retrograde, it's the same kind of concept as Mercury retrograde, but we're going into much, much, much deeper issues that take much longer to reveal, that need in order for the healing. And then once the revealing for the healing is done, how do you execute the healing? We're talking decades here. We're not talking weeks or months. We're talking decades. In fact, over here we're talking 6 months or so. Okay, and then it just takes a long time. So as of today, as of today, we now have Jupiter going retrograde over here. So we got retrograde. That's a massive wall of retrograde. And of course, at the end of August, it's going to get even bigger. But that's weeks away. All right, let me just go back to this one. Now, remember we started talking about the upheavals with Mars early in way back in December 2021, and January 22 over here, where things were showing signs of getting very ugly and violent across the world. People were starting to really fluff themselves up, wanted to use violence as a way to take care of business. And then it accelerated over here when Mars was over here in Aquarius, and that triggered the war. It corresponded to actual war. You can look at the Eastern Europe and the Ukraine area, Russia and so on and all that. Then we had Mars cruising through here and conjoined with Neptune. And you could see all the sickness and corruption and warfare, and everybody on Earth was starting to realize that there's some very sick stuff going on, and we need to, do something about it. We don't want to live in sickness and disease that is being perpetrated upon us, upon humanity. And then Jupiter in Aries was being very courageous over here a while back while Mars was in Aries. And there was this massive unfolding of, I would call it the energy of we the people saying enough is enough. We are going to stand up for ourselves. And that's a problem for these folks here, okay? And it's a problem all over the world. So it's a big problem for the global banking system. And so, just as predicted, let me go back here. I made that doodle for a reason. I'm doing a little retrograde flashback myself. Remember weeks and weeks ago we were talking about this one, when Mars was conjoined to Jupiter in Aries. Okay, I forgot to mark the Aries sign over here. And I declared that we are going to see a real expansion of violence across the world as individual people acting in the spirit of the collective are going to act out. In other words, you could see it. Well, I don't know where you get your news or information from, but I source my stuff from, I would say, places that I really trust, because there's a lot of American so-called news sources that I don't really trust. I can watch them, but a lot of it is what I would call distraction and propaganda, and what they accuse my sources of being, which would be misinformation. So anyway, as predicted, things accelerated and became exponentially more violent. And now that has propagated all over Earth, and you can see the massive T-square here. It's basically war against the status quo and the people at the very, very top of the global system that own and operate and manage everything, and they are going at war with us, with the common person. And their main instruments of war are the financial markets, and we've been building up to it. They've been using traditional weapons like guns and bullets and planes and jets and verbal political threats and everything and all that stuff, and bioweapons and all of that. But now it's getting full-on war, but it's expanded into what some people call asymmetric warfare, or the Chinese like to call, I think it's called unrestricted warfare. And so this was weeks and weeks ago, and Mars has moved from Aries to Taurus, and now it's conjoined here, and exactly as predicted, right here, we've got huge trouble. It's now full-on global awareness that the global financial system is cracking, buckling, shaking, being shaken up as a highly corrupted system is imploding at the same time that a new system is emerging. And this has never really happened before on a global scale like this. We've had, obviously, like Pluto cycles. It's very interesting that these Pluto cycles, with Pluto in Capricorn, around 27, 28, 29 degrees, always mark some kind of massive upheaval in global society, because it represents like the structure, the order, and the power, the beginning and end of empires, and so on and so on. And it matches up more accurately with the United States than anything else in history. It's like perfection in terms of sacred geometry, and it's unfolding. So that's why America is sometimes called this great experiment, because it's happening real time in front of us. And now here we are, 250 roughly years later, after the birth of the United States, 4th of July 1776, and we're going through these convulsive years until Pluto moves into Aquarius, where we are seeing the effects, the actual symptoms, effects, and ramifications and expressions of the Pluto return. You can't see it from a person, but you can see it from a nation or a country, and so that's what we're seeing right now. So what is happening in the United States is affecting the whole of planet Earth, and the way it's affecting planet Earth is through the global financial system, because by this time in the United States dollar and the United States currency, which is the dollar, has been utterly very, very powerfully and very effectively weaponized. And there's enough people across planet Earth who basically said, you know what, enough is enough is enough. And so there's all these talks about, well, what are we going to do now? So we have the BRICS nations saying, we're going to create this new alternate. Ha 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 ha. F you, America. The BRICS is like Brazil, Russia, India, China, I think it's South Africa, and I think they're going to start trying to bring in other countries as well. And they're going to try and, well, they're not going to try, they're actually trying, and I think they're going to do it. And so you're going to have a destruction of a completely unipolar financial system, and it's going to become multipolar. And the United States Federal Reserve banking system is basically trying to hold on to its power, even though at the same time that power is crumbling, dissolving here. We're going to see greater and more increasing devolution as all these energies in the retrograde expose more and more about what is wrong and why, like, people are trying to hold on to things that don't work and put even more pressure. Let me see if I can connect with some of you. Let's see, there's only a couple people here. Okay, no worries. How can I express this? Let me see. Alright, so I mentioned, well, this, to me, the way I do astrology, this represents the global financial system here. It also represents planet Earth, and that's why there's so much emphasis on what they call climate and ESG governance, environmental, social governance, and why they have the carbon agenda and Agenda 2030, the New World Order, and all these things that are all whizzing around more and more in common conversation now, even in the United States mainstream media. People named Klaus and so on are being called out by name. And they've been talking about it amongst themselves for years, and it's now becoming more and more public knowledge. It's all over YouTube, okay? So I'm not the only one talking about this stuff. I'm just talking about it in my particular way. Let me share with you. Let me go over here. Greetings, Terra Lumination here. Just a random video. It's Thursday night over in sunny, warm Las Vegas, and I felt compelled to put this out because of the sacred geometry. That big fat T-square just a while ago with Mars conjoined Jupiter. Violence, just massive explosions of violence, increasing, expanding way beyond what was happening in Eastern Europe. And it's spreading all over the world. There's just a vast expansion and dialogue with all these countries, like saying, I'm going to get you, I'm going to get you, well, I'm going to get you. Oh, you can't touch me. Oh, watch this, I'm going to get you. You go there, you do this. Oh, you're going to wish you were never born. It's just ludicrous. It's just like everything is like a huge bar fight. Everybody going, oh, yeah. You think you can control the world with the U.S. dollar? Well, fuck you. You're done, man. And then you've got the Arabic community, you've got the Indian community, you've got the Middle Eastern community, Russian community, Chinese community. They're all, a lot of them have these sort of totalitarian type regimes, and they like it that way because it's extreme, strict order. The people at the very, very top have absolute control. If they don't like you, or what you say, or what you think, or what you believe, or what you do, you're toast. They can shoot you, kill you, lock you up, destroy your life, whatever they want to do. It's harder to do that in the United States. Sadly, hello Ivona, good to see you. I'm just doing a quick little rant. I needed to sort of vent, get the things off of my chest here a little bit. Over here, where was I? Over here. So, as some of you know, the United States is very, very militaristic. We have a massive military, maybe not in terms of numbers of people, but in terms of experience and capability. It is astronomical, way beyond anything on planet Earth. And now these folks over here, they're trying to build up their military. They have a massive military, much bigger than ours, but it's mostly what you would call an army with rifles. But they do have one big new aircraft carrier. The other one they had was a piece of junk, and they kind of abandoned it. And they have a handful of fighter jets, which were all based on stolen information from guess where over here. And we talked about that so many times. It's a very sick marriage between here and here, and the world goes on. But yeah, the point I was trying to get to is that all the folks over here that they call Western Europe, that they call sort of democratic, over here democratic, over here democratic, over here democratic. And now we're starting to get to totalitarians and dictators and thugs and monsters and chaos and just brutal thuggery over here and here, here and here. It's a complete spectrum of absolute tyranny, like especially if you like somewhere like Myanmar over here. You know, these guys make China look like wimps. You know, the Myanmar, the Burma people, they're literally, they just, anytime they want to do slaughter and murder of anybody they don't like, you're out, you're done, you're toast. Your family, your kids, it doesn't matter. It's sort of like what the gangbangers, gang cartels do in Mexico. And, you know, it's very scary, so you don't want to cross that. And so that's what's happening. So all the things that I was talking about here are spreading all over planet Earth in a way that you can't avoid. The thing is, it's a big problem for the America agenda, because the folks over here who are trying to run and control everything and grind this country into the ground and hand it over to this country for a few $1 million that they can pop in their own pocket, they are willing to betray and use sedition and treason to completely destroy and undermine everything they can about us over here, just to line their pockets for a few million. These dirty little SHITS people at the top here, you know who they are. I'm not going to mention names. They've been selling out this country. There's 4 big crime families that have been selling out this country for decades, and they've done an extremely good job, and it has allowed the United States to enjoy a very luxurious lifestyle, mostly at the expense of all the slave labor over here. But this model is coming unglued. There's enough people over here who are saying enough is enough. Everything's kind of crumbling apart. And what's that? You can sort of follow these trails. Everything leads back to Klaus, and you know, all these buzz phrases that are spreading all over the internet now, all over YouTube. It's unstoppable. Like, oh, you will own nothing and you will be happy. Yay! Yeah, right. Good luck with that one. You will learn how to live off maggots, bugs, mealworms, and I don't know what to call it. I don't know if it is food. I guess it could be food. And so on and so on. So you've seen all the stuff about the sabotage with all the global food chains and the global financial system. So you can attribute all it's all highly predictable, okay? Highly predictable. So there's going to come a time this summer, at some point this summer, Mars is going to go through Gemini, okay? And then Mars is going to come over here into Cancer. And then we're going to have some very serious problems, okay? Mars is going to be opposing Pluto. That is a very violent, warlike, highly repressed energy. Like, in other words, it's like knowing you're on the brink of war, knowing that whoever throws the first punch is forever in history deemed as the enemy of society and the world. On the other hand, you could say that whoever throws the first preemptive strike in order to protect and defend ourselves, our home, our family, we could be heroes. Okay, so it's gonna be very, very awkward. Okay, when Mars gets over here into Cancer. By that time, the sun will be over here somewhere. Okay, so I'm just kind of giving you guys a heads up. All right. We've got all these retrogrades. So it's like, how can I describe this? I know what I'm going to do. I know. Let's see, how can I do this? All right. So with these retrogrades, okay, we've got four big planets. Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto. Let me double check that. Yeah. Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto. That's a very serious wall of heavy retrograde energy. And what it's going to do, it's expose more and more and more about everything and anything that is wrong with society. And that's a good thing, because you've got to reveal it to heal it. On the other hand, in the revealing, things are going to get very, very ugly and very, very painful for a lot of people. In many ways, that's going to show up in your wallet, because the North Node He's in is in Taurus right now. So you're going to feel it very much in the material terms, the stock market, the financial markets, all across the world, the commodities markets, oil, gas, timber, orange juice, steel, copper, palladium, platinum, coal, all the really, really big commodities. I know you could even include the south node energy of Scorpio, all the stuff that's underground, the hidden energy, the secret energy, like gold, like the gold and silver that comes to the surface. We're going to see kind of what's wrong with how everything's working in the environment. And of course, the playbook is already in public display. If anybody wants to read the playbook, you can just go to wef.org. It's all there. Everything is all played out. And the idea is they're trying to make this really beautiful, pretty package, which makes it look like Klaus is here to save you. Hello. We have this master plan to save you. So we're going to save you. Okay? And here's what it looks like. But what they don't tell you are the dirty tricks they do to set the crises up in order that they can save you. Because there's nothing much that they can do unless there's a problem. Also with the banking system, the way it works at the very, very, very tippity top, there would be far less war and warfare if it weren't for the banking system. The banking system, it's so rude, it's so insulting, I feel awkward even talking about it, but they make their money out of war. If you go to the very, 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 very tippity top, it's all made out of war and warfare. It's like betting. It's like betting on UFC fights. You bet on both sides and you play the odds against each other, so you win either way. It's like betting on, you finance each side of the war, and whoever wins pays off the losses of the other. Whoever loses, loses. And you keep going. And it just generates this massive grinding energy of, well, human energy that is harvested. The energy is harvested by the folks at the very, very tippity top through this incredibly complex, very beautifully designed, extremely business model. It's worked very well since 1913. It's been going strong. They've reached kind of peak expression, and now everything's starting to implode. It can't go any further. They can't take their game any further. So it's imploding whether they like it or know it or not. And they're trying to extend it into a new version of the game. For example, in the United States, there's full reserve banking and there's fractional reserve banking. In the fractional reserve banking world now, the banks don't have to hold any reserves at all. As soon as you deposit your money in the bank, it's not yours anymore. You might think it is, but it isn't. It's such amazing scams that it's just amazing. It's just staggering how it all works. Anyway, I hope you're all well. Hope you enjoyed this little message. I guess what I'm trying to do to get across here is to celebrate the Leo new moon, make the best of it. It's a chance to tune in, like wherever that lies in your chart. Let me go back to the stage just for a moment. Okay, let's look at it this way. Even though this is what I'm ranting about over here right now, and this is what I was ranting about weeks ago over here, I'm tracking Mars carefully because we've had all these trigger points since January, and it's all about war, and it's going to expand, okay? And the subject of war is now global. It's all globalized. The subject of World War III is now common topic of conversation. You're not supposed to talk about it because it it scares people, but it's happening, it's live, it's real time, and the actual the surge is happening in the global currency markets. Okay. Some people think of war as purely like, guns, ammos, and battleships, and dogfights with jet planes, and bombings, and sabotage, and submarines, and all those, all that stuff, which is warfare. But that warfare is contingent upon the currency war, which is instigated and managed by the people at the very, 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 very tippity top of the pyramid of global power. So, on a sweeter note, we do have a nice green line here. Very pretty little green line. Even though Jupiter is retrograde. Sun in Leo, Moon in Leo, new starts and new beginnings. So, for example, wherever this point is in your chart, be happy. Be grateful. There's somehow or other, there is a way that you can take advantage of this. It could be anywhere in your chart. Now, these placements aren't changing tonight, anytime, any moment now. The moon will shift along over here in a day or two. It'll be over here. But for now, we have this glorious little moment of new starts and new beginnings. The fifth house here, creative self-expression, the house of enterprise, the house of fun, romance. What else would be the Leo stuff? The obvious Leo stuff. Pride of ownership, artistic expression, fun. Might as well make the most of it here. So wherever this lies in your chart, even if you are not a Leo, you don't have to be a Leo, okay? This point is in your chart somewhere, at some degree point. It could be anywhere, okay? I'm just pointing it out. But that you could consider a sweet spot, okay? Right now, take advantage of it. Do some deep self-analysis. Do some self-meditation and stuff. And if you want a personal reading, you know where to go. Well, you know where to come. And let me just do that, and I'm going to wrap up. So if anybody wants to donate anything, yep, you can go to tarotlumination.com, click the donate button on the donate page, throw some money in the payment processor, just use a card, okay? Thank you very much. And if you're already a very active PayPal person, you can send PayPal directly to a little book about at yahoo.com. That's my email over here. A little book about at yahoo.com. Those are ways you can do it. Also, sorry about this. If you want to book a personal reading, you can go to the tarotlumination.com, see a page just for readings. Go there, book it, get in touch with the Connect page, and we'll get you sorted out. We'll schedule something with you. You'll have your own private Zoom. I'll look into your astrology. We'll do the tarot. It'll be wonderful. It's like getting a look behind the curtain of your own life. Wow. Yes. All right, so I'm going to check out. Thank you, Ivona, for keeping me company. I hope everything is good where you are. And we'll check out now. Let's have a look over here. Clickety-click. I'm just going to... Yeah. All right.